welcome to Clan Live Fan TV. My name is Cal York. I'm joined tonight by Craig and Lewis. How you doing, guys, tonight? All right?
Good, Callie. All good.
Good, thanks for asking.
Have you all stopped greeting after the weekend results?
Just about, mate. Aye.
Have you kept off Twitter, Lewis, for a wee while?
No, I'm straight back on and winding people up again.
That's good.
Bounce back quickly.
Yeah, I just thought we would just do a sort of catch up around the weekend's games. Since the last time we did the episode, we talked about our sort of expectations for the season and also, looked at September's games. And here we are, the 2 pre-season games. We got a win in Fife and then we got a defeat at home to Dundee Stars. Don't really want to talk too much about the pre-season games because I think they're more fitness focused rather than knowing too much about what's happening with the team. But the Challenge Cup this weekend has been interesting. Start with yourself, Craig. Friday night we kicked off at Braehead Arena. We ended up getting a defeat by Fife by 6-5. What was your thoughts on the first game of the season?
First game of the season, like the first 40 minutes, we kept ahead. We went at the third period 3-1, and the last period we just completely lost the head. Like they were literally baiting players, and the players are going into it and getting penalties. Like the Laporte one, for example, is a prime example. They were clearly baiting him, and he fell right for it and got the penalty, and it cost us. Yeah,
Lewis, what was your thoughts? Obviously, a number of penalties, quite a few power play goals in that last period. As Craig said, at the end of the second, I was talking to one of my friends. I said, I don't see us losing this game. I see us actually scoring more goals and winning it quite comfortably. And then we took all these penalties. They capitalised on the power play. And as Craig said, we took another couple of maybe silly ones and ran out of time in the end, despite a really good comeback towards the last few minutes.
Absolutely. It's always going to be uphill whenever you're taking that many penalties, whether they're soft calls or deserved penalties. That's up to interpretation. But when you've got a referee like Toby Craig who calls it sort of, I don't know, he's not very lenient with the fouls, so to speak. You're sort of asking to get called when you lose a head like that. Even over the tiniest little things. So the win was there for the taking, and we've proven that we've got the goal scoring ability with the ability to come back to make it 6-5 again.
Yeah, it kind of feels, Lewis, we threw it away. Obviously positives there with Gary Hayden getting a couple of goals, but again it was just too little, too late. I think if we had another 5 minutes on that clock there, we could have probably tied the game, maybe won it in overtime. What's your thoughts?
Absolutely. I know we'll sort of touch on it later as well, but I don't think the power breaks helped with regards to the result. I'm not using it as an excuse or anything, but when you get Shane Owen sort of losing the heat, they call a power break, and then it gives them time to calm down. It's just not going to work in our favour at all.
I suppose the positive we can take from it, Craig, was Matthew Waugh again knocking in the goals. So no real change there.
That's it. The King's definitely back this year. Last year he was a great player for us as well. Scoring goals, assists galore, and he started off a flyer again. It's just unfortunate he couldn't get one more that night. Like you said, it would have likely went into overtime.
Yeah, certainly if you watch the post-match interview with Malcolm Cameron, he basically said the third period there was far too many penalties. We lost too many goals as the result of that, and probably pretty much what we felt. The game was there for the taking after the second period, and we threw it away, and it was a short-benched Fife team as well. But yeah, I suppose it's one we learn from, but certainly very disappointing. We then moved on to the Dundee Ice Arena yesterday. We're recording this on Monday night. We faced up against the Dundee Stars, and we lost there by 4-3. Lewis, what was your thoughts on the Dundee game yesterday?
From all accounts, a better performance. I think what we've been missing the past 2 games that's been underestimated is not having Liam Stenton in the lineup. The rotation of the D-men at the back, they're not sort of having the opportunity to gel together because it's all different combinations because there's only the 5 of them. I feel like that has an impact with protecting Driscoll from the amount of shots on goal he's been having.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought that was a much better performance yesterday. At times, I just felt we would probably go on and win we were playing because we were in the ascendancy at certain points of the game. But I think for me, Craig, the turning point was when Colin Joe was given the freedom of Dundee to score 2 goals. He was left with so much space and he hit in 2 late goals. I think in that second period, it turned the game round to Dundee going up by 3 goals to 2. But discipline was certainly better. I mean, what was your thoughts on the game?
The first period, I thought it was going to be a repeat performance, in all honesty, of the Fife game on Friday, especially with the amount of power plays that Dundee were getting against us. But I don't know, obviously, what's been said in the locker room, but clearly something's happened to kind of make them realise we need to keep the head here and not give away so many penalties. So they were a lot more disciplined, which was good. But for me, what really cost us the game was falling asleep in defence. You know, like the last goal, which got them the 4-3, short-handed for a start, and it was just they fell asleep. You know, and it shouldn't have happened. I mean, fair play to Dundee, they obviously wanted it more, but we should have at least got to overtime with that fourth goal shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I mean, I think we were very much in that game, and I say at times when we were up 2-1, Mitch Jones made it 2-1 during that second period. We started it really well. I thought we were going to go on and win the game because guys like Mike Parland was really coming on to a game, and we seemed to have so much quality in our lineup. But you can't write Dundee off, and you know, even though on paper you would probably say we look the stronger team, especially experience-wise. You know, if you don't take your chances and you give guys too much space and lose goals at bad times, you're not going to win very many games. But I suppose what we can take from it is it's a Challenge Cup. You know, it's still probably pre-season in a way, although probably the Clan are banking on some money from other rounds of the Challenge Cup, you would think. So there's still time to turn it around, but it's certainly been two defeats, disappointing, but I think we just need to take it on the chin. Now, Lewis, Malcolm Cameron was saying that disappointing. We've only really had 8 practices together, 2 or 3 games, really. Do you think maybe starting a wee bit later with training camps hampered us a bit? Because obviously Dundee started a couple of games against Belfast Giants, which would have helped them early doors. Do you think maybe if we had another week or 2 pre-season, in hindsight, it may have helped us?
I think so, aye. I think the panic stations have been hit a wee bit too early because you're seeing improvements every game. Like, it might be small things, but like not making daft errors, but there are improvements every game. And I think it's just been a lack of time that they've had. Because you see players who in pre-season or against Fife maybe didn't perform. Yesterday, their performance was a lot better. And it's just that time it's just not happening quick enough for some fans. It's getting frustrating. And it's important not to let that sort of affect the morale around the team.
Yeah, I totally agree because I think we've got the players there. I mean, we've talked this roster up, Craig. Nothing's changed, you know, in the last couple of weeks in terms of the roster. Some of the guys I see are improving, you know, day after day. And I think we're getting better each game. And I think it's unfair to criticise guys at such an early stage. One player that probably comes under the spotlight is Zach Driscoll, 10 goals in 2 games over the weekend. But surely you can't blame Zach Driscoll entirely for that.
Oh, definitely not. Like I said in Dundee one, it was the defence had fell asleep for at least 2 of those goals. I mean, the only criticism I've got about Zach Driscoll, for me, I've seen it all the games so far. The first game against Fife in the pre-season, he was phenomenal. Like the saves he was making in that game was absolutely unreal. But then in the Dundee pre-season and then the Fife game, a lot of the goals we were getting with extremely similar plays. You know, same position. He was always getting caught in the wrong place. So they clearly need to do a bit more practice around that part of his game. But other than that, I wouldn't really count Driscoll out because look at Starrett when he first joined us. People were saying things about him, and he wasn't performing brilliantly to begin with, but once he got his stride, I'm pretty sure I speak for a lot of Clan fans when we will say he's probably one of the favourites and we've had for gold between him and Jones.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give people time. I remember the first pre-season game of last season, I went down to Solway and Starrett let in a stinking goal, and I thought, who is this keeper we've signed? This is terrible. And then I came out after that and said, Cody Saul will be a fan's favourite. This guy is tremendous. It just shows you how you can make snap judgments and you can be proven wrong as the season goes on. So I think one thing I've learned over the years is give the guys time. Give them a couple of months to bed in, to get their systems going, get their confidence up. Because I think, as you touched on, Lewis, confidence is a big thing in sport. If you can win a couple of games, all of a sudden guys can be like a different team.
Absolutely, aye. And like I said earlier on, it's important that the fans sort of don't lose heed too early. Because obviously it affects the morale of the team going forward. And I think we've got the players there. The potential is there to still do some damage in the league this season.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's early days. Next weekend we'll take on Dundee's Stars on the Saturday again. Craig, I'm looking for a bounce back. We've played them twice. As I said, pre-season was probably too early to say. We've gone to a narrow defeat there yesterday. An opportunity to get 2 points on the board. Do you expect the boys to bounce back this Saturday?
Definitely. We've had not only a couple of games behind our belts, but we've been able to see Dundee Stars a couple of games and learn how they're playing and how they're connecting in their sort of lines as well. So I would fully expect to be seeing a Clan team improve on the performance they had from yesterday and preferably get the win in regulation, if not overtime.
What about yourself, Lewis? Your thoughts for Saturday's game against Dundee?
I just want to see steady improvement again. I feel like in their heads now they should feel hard done to not get a result in the games that they've played, and I feel like that they should use that in a positive manner and go on and win it, to be honest.
I mean, that's the way I would probably be dealing with it if I was a sportsman in that dressing room. As we've lost a couple of games here, Fife and Dundee, that we probably should have done better in. We could have won both potentially, and use your learnings, whether it be people winding you up and taking silly penalties, to actually stay on the ice and influence the game on the ice. Nolan Laporte being one that we know, if he stays on the ice, can win games by himself. So yeah, let's hopefully guys are hurting as much as we are, and next weekend, we'll be talking about a couple of good wins there. And the Sunday, Lewis, we're travelling to Guildford, and it's our first league game of the season. Obviously a tough place to go. I think you were there the last time, and Craig, when we actually won there. What's your thoughts on chances in Guildford? I don't really know too much personally about this Guildford team, but do you think guys like John Dunbar will relish going back there?
I hope so. Like you said, it's a place we've only won twice away from home throughout our entire existence. It's one of these places we just can't seem to win. So if we do go down there and we get a result, I mean, you've seen what it did for us last season to get down there and win, and then the following week get down to Cardiff and win the playoffs. Obviously, it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but you saw the confidence was there. So I feel if we get a result on Saturday and get a result down there on Sunday, then we can just push on and do some damage. Yeah,
I mean, we certainly have experience in our lineup, Craig, that we should be able to go to places like Guildford and compete with teams like that. Guys like Stephen Dixon, guys like Steve McParland as well, Laporte. We've seen Gary Hayden coming onto a game as well. So we have the talent. So maybe we just need a few breaks and we could do okay down there.
Definitely. I mean, like you say, we've got the experience, but it's not just the experience of playing, but we've got the experience of playing in the league. So a lot of these guys know what the other teams are like, what the arenas are like. And the travel as well has got to be counted for, because the Guildford trip is tough as a fan, never mind as a player. So I'm hoping that the plan is for the team to go down the Saturday night and stay overnight sort of thing. Obviously a bit late night for them, but they can rest in the coach rather than having being stuck on the coach all day. I think that'd be a better option for them. Maybe not better financial wise, but better for fitness wise, and like getting the team ready to play and giving them the best chance, but get the win.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case. As I don't know the situation, but certainly any extra preparation of that would be helpful for the game. I want to touch on a couple of questions we got in from fans. So the goaltending thing's been brought up a couple of times. We've really given our opinion on that. Alan Yule says goaltending, the Clan have went with cheapness again. They've gone with 2 novice goalies, first-year pros. It's a massive risk. We've had currently no reward. 10 goals against, and Clan haven't played any of the big teams yet. Time to worry. I think you've probably touched on that, Lewis. How do you reply to that?
I don't really think it's time to worry at all, to be honest. I mean, we're 2 games in. I don't think it's time to worry at all. You've got to give these guys, especially first year pro, you've got to give them time to adjust to professional hockey, adjust to the league, adjust to the country, adjust to everything. I mean, you touched on Shane Starrett in pre-season last year, struggled, and look what happened to him.
David Howden said, Craig, still early in the season, but it doesn't feel like anything has changed since last season. Definitely downgraded on goalie, very risky going with a rookie goalie. Defence needs a lot of work. It's really hurting us. Players are switching off for long periods of the game. Again, is it just where we are? We've only played 2 games. Are we, as fans, maybe judging a bit too early?
Definitely. It's like everyone's quick to jump on the blame game. I mean, don't get me wrong, like some of the goals I seen myself, I was raging. I had a nice rainy drive up the road to contemplate the Dundee trip. And I was just going through the goals I witnessed myself. But the thing is, we've got to realize these guys can only take so many shots before they're going to start getting goals against them. It's not just the goalie. We've got to account for the full team. The defence switched off, and it was the same with Starrett. He can only take so many shots into him before he's going to let goals in as well. It's the way the game goes, and the puck bounces weird sometimes. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Driscoll, but I think we're a bit too early on judging the guy. I mean, don't be wrong. Obviously, I've got some minor criticisms, in regards to like the similarity of some of the goals, but that's something that can be worked upon. I'm not worried in regards to the goalies, and we've got Taylor who we can bring in as well. I do want to see Taylor come in. I'm kind of hoping that Cameron's going to take the opportunity to bring Taylor in for the weekend and give him a shot on the ice as well, because we don't want him feeling dejected as well, not getting any ice time at all.
Yeah, good point on Ty Taylor, Lewis. I mean, people are asking, where is Ty Taylor? I think he was in Block K the other night. Do you think the result of a lesson pre-season meant we didn't really have time to play Ty Taylor? So if we'd had potentially a bit more time, he could have got a game, whereas probably Malcolm Cameron just wanted to get Driscoll out and up to speed. I mean, he spoke about Driscoll really being the number one. But, I mean, what stage do you actually play Ty Taylor? Do you give him a run out at the weekend, or do you just carry on with Driscoll?
No, I think it's early. If you are set on Driscoll being the number one, then you need to give him as much game time as possible at the beginning to adjust and kind of get his feet.
Yeah.
I think the time for Ty Taylor to come in is after that's happened, after Driscoll's settled and he's starting to be a bit more comfortable and playing how Malcolm Cameron knows that he can.
And this is from Boogie at V Diapon. He says, don't panic. There's only a few games in. Tonight, as in last night, was definitely better than Friday. You control both games for long periods of time. Need to cut out the mental errors and suicidal turnovers. So, yeah, Boogie's probably saying what we're saying. He's seen some positives as a play in there.
Oh, there's definite improvements game on game. The biggest thing for me is obviously the silly penalties, especially when you've got referees like Craig who are going to call everything against Clan if they can, And the perfect example of that is the one in Fife where Laporte was suckered into punching him twice in the face. He just stood there and let him punch him. And to be honest with you, you can't really blame him because, like, if I was the Fife player, then I'd be more than happy to get punched in the face if it's going to get my team to win.
I don't think the refereeing standard is really atrocious. I don't think individual referees go out of their way to be biased against teams. I just feel at times we sometimes lose control of the situation. We take abusive official penalties, things that we probably could do without taking, but surely that's a learning curve that we just can't take them because we're hurting the team by being in the box, really. And I say guys like Nolan Laporte, you have him on the ice and he can score the winning goal. So I hope that these guys are wise up quick, that they can do their damage in that way rather than getting basically pulled into penalties and that kind of stuff. Let's talk about a bit of controversy over the weekend as well, which was the power breaks. I'll give you a massive brief take on them. I mean, they obviously were introduced as an EHL trial, and there's a number of teams that are trialling them. In the actual press release, if you read it, there's not really a lot of detail of why they are there. They do talk about it's not to be used for coaching gain. We assume that they're probably there for commercial benefit. We assume it might be to give players a bit of a rest. But again, it'd be nice for that to be clarified. But I would like to understand, is it just going to be a commercial benefit? And if so, is it going to potentially spoil the flow of the game? So, Lewis, your thoughts on the power breaks so far?
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier on, I think it does massively kill off the momentum of the game. You saw it demonstrated against Fife at the weekend there. Like I said, with the example of Shane Owen losing his head and power break was called, give him a chance to calm down, and it was fine after that, you know what I mean? So I feel like it does kill the momentum. I'm not a fan of it at all, just to say the least.
We would maybe think different, Craig, if we were winning 7-0 when there was power breaks. And we were quite happy to kill the momentum of the game and go for another pint. So are we being a bit fickle because we're losing games, or do we genuinely think that they're going to spoil night experience a wee bit?
For me, it's not about the winning or losing. It's because obviously I want my team to win, but like Lewis said, it completely kills momentum in the game. It messes up the flow of the game. It's the one thing that I really dislike about when we have Premier Sports in to show the games on television. You're getting these breaks so they can show adverts. I mean, I can understand, obviously, they need to make their money, but at the same time, you're sitting there for a good minute, and it's giving the both teams a chance to rest up. And you mentioned that it's not to be used for like coaching gain, but if that was the case, then they really shouldn't be allowed to go over to the bench and talk to their coach to get coaching. So that's basically what you see happening. So they call the timeout. Effectively, they're all going over and they're all chatting away, you know, and you don't know what they're talking about. But yeah, not a fan at all. I think it should be taken away as soon as physically possible.
Yeah, I mean, I found it interesting last night. If these power breaks are brought in, again, we're making an assumption here for commercial benefit. So what happens is a power break is called in Saturday Braehead. There's an announcement about Domino's Pizza. Domino's Pizza sponsors Glasgow Clan power breaks. Go and grab your pizza after the game. I prefer Chinese rather than pizza, but I'm just using that as an example. The club got a wee bit of money from that, and maybe on the webcast at that point there's an advert for a local business. You can understand that's a commercial, gain potentially to the club. What confused me a wee bit last night was the Dundee. I watched the webcast from Dundee. It was a power break. There was no mention of any sponsor. There was no mention of the webcast of a sponsor, although there was sponsors ads at other points in the webcast. So I don't know whether we're just not ready for them yet, which would beg the question why we're actually doing them then, if we're doing them for commercial benefit. I would just like to know a bit, tell us what's going on. Basically, if you're going to change the flow of the game, it's like you, Craig, going to the cinema and you watch your trailers and then halfway through your movie, an advert comes on for a minute. You're not used to seeing adverts in the middle of a movie. All of a sudden, it was a bit alien to actually see something like that happen without understanding why. But I think if they come out and say, look, it's a commercial benefit to the club, we'll make money from it, people might be a wee bit more understanding. But I think when you just bring it in and don't tell people about it, you're setting yourself up for criticism. And I think that's really what's happened there. So I say, let's see how they go. I mean, they're being trialled, but I think the communication could be a bit better. I mean, what's your thoughts, Lewis?
Yeah, communication should be a lot better. It's a good point. I've not thought too much into them. So, I mean, your point of view there is a fair point. In regards to the cash receipt thing, if it is the case, it's a case of, is it worth it? You've got to measure up against the results, so there's got to be something to measure up against. Which right now there isn't, because we don't even know why they're in place.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think you're going to find coaches, though, Craig, as you were saying, if coaches are losing games and are losing momentum of the game and causing them losses, I don't think coaches are going to be too pleased about power breaks, are they?
Definitely not. So when it first happened, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? After that game, I looked up, I tried to find out a bit more about them, and I seen it was obviously, like you said, a trial. And if they've opted into using them, they need to stick with it for 28 days.
Yeah.
So as much as I want, obviously, the team to be doing well and getting on the momentum from everything we can, I'm really hoping that Malcolm's going to see the error of the ways there and decide, that we don't want that, because it's completely killing momentum. If it's about advertising rights, then say that's what it's about, but don't just say, we're trialing it from not giving a reason. It's not good enough.
As you say, Lewis, even if is there value in it? So if we're getting a couple of grand, from a local garage, no disrespect to them, to sponsor a power break, is that worth potentially hacking a lot of people off just by these things? Some people will say, just live with it. It's about money, getting money in, but I don't think you can do that, to your paying public without explaining to them the reason why you're doing it. But that's just my own personal opinion. The club will probably know a lot more than we do. It would just be nice to know the reasons really behind them, because if you know the reasons, you can come to some kind of maybe more reasonable view on it on that basis. So that's pretty much covered the power breaks. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, I'm just looking forward to seeing the team push on, seeing what we can actually do. I'm still very optimistic. I still believe in Malcolm Cameron. I still believe in the team. And the expectations are high, so they need to be met.
Craig, your thoughts? Try to keep it as positive, because I think there is lots of positives there. We are improving game from game. We have a really strong roster. We're hopefully going to learn from our early mistakes before we start off in the league. What's your thoughts as a Clan fan? How are you feeling at this moment in time?
Obviously, there's positives and negatives coming from the games we've had so far. The positives is there's definite improvement game on game, so that is going to continue, and hopefully that momentum comes into Saturday and continues when we start playing proper league games as well. So I'm optimistic that we're not going to count the team out, because we're far too early in that. Maybe if the team had been together for years, then maybe you can start saying what's going on here. But we've got to remember, these guys, a lot of them don't know each other. They don't know each other's tales or plays or how each other's going to act and that sort of thing. So we've got to give them a chance to get to know each other and figure each other out on the ice as well. I'm not worried for the team yet, but obviously I want to see some wins coming our way. As much as I like seeing the improvements on the ice, I want to see that shown in the scoreboards as well.
Yeah, and hopefully we can kick on this weekend and get points on the board, because a couple of wins would really do big things, I think, for this team, because we have the talent there, we have the experience. I think we just need the confidence and things to just click, and we could do really well this season. So thank you very much for joining me, Lewis, Craig, and I'll catch up with you soon. Take care.
Yeah, time. Bye.